What's up, ladies and gentlemen? We're in the building here. Dayton, you already know what time it is. Dayton 24/7 Now Sports Podcast powered by SE Live 365. And I'm here with my compadres, Matt Digby and Mr. Lorenzo Smith. How we doing today, fellas?
We're doing great. Can't believe it's already Final Four weekend, and what a NCAA basketball tournament it's been so far.
No doubt, Mr. Smith.
Hey, life is good. I'm looking for an exciting weekend this March Madness.
Yeah, we got a lot to talk about here as the men's Final Four is set, and there's no blue bloods in there, but there's one team that if they get a dub, they could possibly reach that category. We'll talk about that a little bit. Then we got NCAA women's Final Four, and I was one half away from a perfect bracket. We'll get into that a little bit and talk about our favorites. And then we got high school OHSAA moves locally, and then there was a couple parades that go down at this time of the year. And then we also have action on our Hot 5 topics such as Division II championship, UD departures and arrivals, and the NBA vibe. So it's a March Madness vibe all the way around. Matty D, when it comes to the NCAA men's, it's as crazy as it's ever been. Go ahead and give us a rundown on that NCAA men's, man.
It really is. The fact that a lot of first-timers in this Final Four matchup, San Diego State, Florida Atlantic, and Miami. The only team with already previous experience from the Final Four is UConn. They've been in the Final Four a couple of times. They already have I believe 4 titles when all said and done. They won 94, 04, and 11 under Jim Calhoun, and then 2014 under Kevin Ollie. Now Dan Hurley has a chance to add, but really the great story for the Aztecs, for the Owls, and even for the Hurricanes, a school that you don't necessarily think of as a basketball power, but now those 3 in the Final Four for the first time, that's got to be exciting, especially for the Aztecs and the Owls representing the mid-majors.
No question. When you think of Miami, you think about putting your feet up. Yeah. You know what I mean? But they was one half away from having 2 teams in the Final Four. Nevertheless, just one. Congratulations to them. Mr. Smith, what was the craziest thing you've seen? And, what do you think about this Final Four, man?
Well, no number ones, number ones in the Final Four. So that's first time in a long time. So, but it's exciting because now it goes to show you how the transfer portal is working with the mid majors and guys dropping down from the Power 5 to the mid majors. So it's an exciting time because everybody's brackets is busted.
Yeah, that was busted after the first round, first and second round. Nobody had perfect brackets. But when you look at these 4 teams, I mean, they all got there in different ways. UConn's obviously a favorite because they are a name.
Yes.
But when you watch the other teams, they're very much in it. Florida Atlantic taking down a Kansas State team. A lot of people thought Kansas State was going to be that team. They started to become a darlings of the tournament and then ousted. So that's been kind of the theme. What's your biggest takeaway from this, Matt? And who do you like going down the stretch right now?
Yeah, I'd say right now, you definitely have to say right now UConn is the favorite for many, but I think it's going to be a toss-up, especially considering one of San Diego State and Florida Atlantic will be in that championship game on that Monday night, the biggest stage in that school's history, regardless of sport. So that's going to be an interesting stage for them, and will they rise to the challenge? We saw it a couple years ago with Butler when the Bulldogs had that run when they made it to back-to-back championship games but came up short. They were oh so close, I remember, in 2010 when Gordon Hayward had that half-court shot that was just a little bit too strong off that rim. But will the Aztecs or the Owls have a similar run to the championship game like Butler did a couple years ago, or will it even then one step further with the national championship? It will be great to see.
No question about it. And Mr. Smith, when you look at, like you said, there's no blue bloods, but if there was one that's creeping on the come up, it's got to be UConn. Five championships in a 25-year span.
Yep.
I would say that would consider being a blue blood, or starting to get your name a little bit more solidified as one of those programs. Do they have the most to lose, obviously, with this championship, or is it one of those other 3 teams that are just kind of riding a wave?
Well, if I had to pick anybody, it would be UConn. They probably right now the talented team in the Final Four. But if you go on the history, the last week or so, it's been upset after upset after upset. So if we want to get back to that, I see maybe an upset. You're talking about San Diego State and Florida Atlantic in the finals, and then you mentioned Butler. We might be back in that space on the championship game. So I like everything that San Diego State does.
Yeah.
You know, you're talking about Coach Fisher leaves Michigan, goes out to California, puts something special out at San Diego State. Then he stepped down from the job. New coach comes in, and he's done a heck of a job. And then we talking about Florida Atlantic, who has 4 or 5 portal guys.
Yeah.
That's in there. So it's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting. I'm looking for the upset. Maybe a Miami upset, or
Miami
maybe a San Diego State upset.
Yeah, could you imagine
in the championship game?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, the other thing that stuck out to me, I saw an article about Florida Atlantic. The head coach, Dusty May, when he first took the job, he hadn't seen the facilities. And the first time he saw the facilities, he almost kind of had a buyer's remorse. He's thinking, what in the world did I get into? Well, fast forward a couple years later, now he's in the Final Four. I bet he's definitely glad he stuck with his decision to stay with the Owls. And it's paid off for him.
It's going to pay. It hasn't paid off quite yet.
Well,
but
it will. It will after they get this check.
Yeah,
they'll be able to upgrade their facilities
and a paycheck for him as well. As he is taking, like you said, they weren't even a mid-major. They were like a low major. I mean, let's be they weren't considered they came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And they pulled it out. Miami of Florida, they've been kind of prominent for a little while in the ACC. They've had some good teams, but they really, San Diego State as well. Kawhi Leonard back then, they were pretty good.
Yeah.
They've had some moments, but Florida, they came out of nowhere. But
they did.
UConn definitely, I feel like, has the most to lose. Who y'all got, man? It's our moment of truth here.
Right now, if I had to pick right this moment in time, I would say FAU over San Diego State, UConn over Miami, and then the championship game. I just think the Cinderella story and the way this tournament has unfolded, you got to go with the underdog. I'm picking Florida Atlantic to win it all on Monday night in Houston.
Mr.
So I'm gonna go against that.
Okay. Yep.
First of all, we go back to UConn, Miami, and I'm going with Miami with the upset.
Okay.
And then we go to Florida Atlantic and San Diego State. I'm going with San Diego State, and then San Diego State upsetting Miami.
So you got San Diego State.
Yes.
Well, you know what? I think there's too much for UConn to lose. I like UConn winning the first game. I like San Diego State, and I think UConn, in a very close game, will defeat San Diego State in the championship. So there it is. You have all of our expert analysis on college basketball. How was it this season for y'all on the men's side? And also, San Diego State, they did whoop Ohio State back then, so they were pretty good. I'm just thinking, watching San Diego State, they were pretty good, and they did smack down Ohio State in one of those. I think it was a Maui Invitational or one of those, but they are definitely a team to be reckoned with, and it'll be fun to watch this Final Four. But is there anything that stuck while we're on the college basketball real quickly? UD,
yes,
they're moving and shaking it's moving and shaking at UD. What's our latest news?
The latest news is, as of Wednesday, the net is -3 for UD. What that means is 4 players have left the program, only 1 has come in, of course. So last week, the big news with the transfer portal regarding Mustafa Amzil, regarding RJ Blakely, Richard Amafala, and then this week, Mike Sharaf-Johnson announcing he is going to be testing his feet, or I should be, testing the NBA draft, for lack of a better phrase. But what an impact he's had, connecting the city of Dayton and really a significant portion of the U.S. with the nation of Mongolia, to be the first Mongolian to earn a Division I athletic scholarship. That's all sports, not just basketball, but the community connection, Dayton having Mongolia Day the night of the St. Louis game. I was actually able to see what they have for the halftime show that night when the Flyers hosted the Billikens. They had Mongolian contortionists from a school out in San Francisco. That was very impressive to see.
Wow, I see they went all out for Mongolian Mike. We're going to have to wrap this up, but that's a whole topic in itself. We'll come back with more departures, arrivals from UD. We got NCAA women's to talk and high school stuff to talk. So come back. Dayton 24/7 Now Sports Podcast.
Welcome back to the Dayton 24/7 Now Sports Podcast. Matt Digby joined by Deon Cash and Mr. Lorenzo Smith. We're talking March Madness. We've got the men's Final Four analyzed, and now it's time to look at the women's Final Four. And I know we were talking about the men's Final Four, a lot of surprises. UConn, the only team with past experience in the Final Four. Not quite the case with the women's. There are several schools that do have experience, or at least experienced coaches in this field. You got South Carolina, Iowa is one matchup, and LSU, Virginia Tech in the second matchup. And Virginia Tech really is the only newcomer among those four. All the other three do have prior experience and prior success. But overall, especially compared to the men's tournament, the women's tournament definitely held chalk across the bracket.
Yeah, it did. And it helped serve to like the superstars in the game.
Yeah.
If you look at all of the, I mean, even Virginia Tech has a dynamic duo.
Yeah.
But this LSU just able to ride their star to the Final Four.
Mm-hmm.
They have two stars and a bunch of good players as well. And then South Carolina, obviously, just defensively tough, able to shut down Maryland, and we was hoping Ohio State could make it happen. They looked like they were for a half. They played really well, but they had these stretches during the season against certain teams where they just could not throw it in the ocean, and it happened in the second half. And that's what happens. The farther you go in the tournament, you get exposed as a team. Not that they weren't an elite team. Virginia Tech was just a tad bit better on that night, and they just played the guard big man combo was dominant, and Ohio State, the Lady Buckeyes, just couldn't answer it. But when you look at these teams that made it to the Final Four, I was able to pick 3 out of the 4. I kind of watched a lot of basketball this season, especially with the ladies, and the teams that and then Caitlin Clark. I mean, she gonna. And the thing about her, she has a gear that's already for WNBA. Like she can be running and hit you with this gear, and it's like, her range is crazy, and she just dominated. So it's gonna be a star-studded Final Four. Who do you got? I mean, what do you see with this one? And then shout out to Cody McMahon, obviously,
in Ohio State.
Cody McMahon for Ohio State, incredible season, a freshman season. I think freshman of the year.
Yeah, she was Big Ten freshman of the year. Yep.
Yeah, probably national. She should be national freshman of the year for the way that she played. And then for Bree Hall, a very key role player for South Carolina, comes in 3-and-D type of girl. But she took it all the way to the basket a few times, getting more comfortable, and going to be a key player if the Gamecocks going to get to the championship. Mr. Smith, what do you see? What are you seeing with these matchups?
It's probably a great Final Four. Side note is, this is the first year the women were able to use March Madness.
Oh, it was.
Yeah. So they've never been able to use the trademark.
Why is that though?
It's 2023. You think it would have happened by now?
But I have to tell you that story off camera. But you're talking about for the better matchups in NCAA women's history. Mm-hmm. You're talking about South Carolina and Iowa. That's going to be hype. All right. Will South Carolina be able to stop not only Caitlin Clark, but they shoot the ball well.
Yeah, they have some other snipers
as a team. Yeah, it's not just Caitlin Clark. Yeah, she had a 40-point triple-double with the Elite Eight, but she's not their only strong player.
No, she's not. But
and then you're talking about LSU, and then the newcomer Virginia Tech. It's an exciting time for women's sports at this time. I'm sorry, I was hoping Ohio State was going to make it in. I was going to make it down there for that game. Mm-hmm. But if you look now, is this year probably on and maybe a little bit above than the men. Women's basketball has been exciting this year. Some of the matchups, some of the games, and then you factor in the social media, and you just think maybe about 5 or 6 years ago, we only knew maybe 1 or 2 names in women's basketball. Now we can rattle off a ton of them. So you're talking about exciting time for the Final Four on Friday. It's the start of it. So if I had to pick one right now, Iowa
like Iowa.
Good.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that's the big thing, the whole parity, because to go back to that first weekend, Stanford playing in their own home against Ole Miss, and Ole Miss goes to California and wins at Stanford. That was my personal pick to win the national championship, and they don't even make it out of the first weekend. So the growth and the parity of women's basketball is something that has definitely helped the sport, and especially to have these matchups. A team like South Carolina with Aaliyah Boston and Dawn Staley and everything they've done over now, how many years has it been since they lost a game, taking on a team like Iowa and Caitlin Clark, for that to be the semifinal matchup. Only one of those two gets to move on to Monday night or on Sunday night, because the game is on, it's a Friday-Sunday split for the women's tournament, but a whole lot at stake in that matchup. That's going to be a great game to watch.
Yeah, I mean, they got NCAA committee there. I know they are cheesing right now. They smiling from head to toe, because although the men's bracket didn't draw what they wanted, they put that March Madness behind the women, and what did they do? They rep. The top teams rep. They showed up, so they're gonna have the ratings will. I don't know how close they'll compare to the men's, but they're gonna be up there.
Yeah, and this is another sidebar, is they probably kicking themselves in the butt because they sold the rights for $38 million, and then it was well worth $112 million. So they probably kicking themselves in the butt because they could have had a lot more money.
Oh man, hey, just a couple more million, right?
Yeah.
But so who you got, Matt?
Right now, looking at the matchups, I do think South Carolina with Aaliyah Boston, I think they just have that edge over Caitlin Clark and the Hawkeyes, so I'm going South Carolina. LSU, Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech has been a great story, making it as far as they have for the first time ever, but LSU does have Angel Reese. They do have Kim Mulkey from Baylor, who knows how to win at this stage with the Bears, and she's been able to have a lot of success with the Tigers in I think this is just her second year at LSU, so I like South Carolina, LSU in the championship game and all SEC matchup. I do think Dawn Staley and the Gamecock dynasty, it will continue in 2023. I'm going South Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to say exactly what he said. I think LSU will defeat Virginia Tech. Defensively, I think they'll be able to match up and kind of take away the guard a little bit. And inside, I don't think they'll be scoring like that. So I think there'll be the one weakness with Ohio State. They weren't able to stop bigs inside. Kind of showed a little bit in that game, but LSU can stop. They dominate the paint. They dominate rebounds. I think LSU gets done. South Carolina, Iowa, be a classic matchup. I think Clark goes for 30, 35. I just think South Carolina they have Bree Hall. They'll have players that will be guarding her and Dawn Staley. You already know what Dawn Staley's saying. Don't let this girl get off. I mean, flat out. But it'll be a classic matchup. I like South Carolina to win it all. Do y'all think the women's tournament was more exciting than the men's as of right now?
As of right now, yes. I think it was a women's showing, the success that a brand name and the longevity, like a team like South Carolina, Iowa, we've known about for several years with Caitlin Clark. LSU, they were already a solid program with a history, and then LSU hires Kim Mulkey, who has her success from Baylor. So there's that. So it's a nice balance. For the men, you had all these unpredictable storylines and these upsets that will be talked about for generations. But women's basketball, there are definitely some top-notch, top-quality teams showing why they have earned those reputations over the last couple of years.
Man, Kim Mulkey, her outfits, bruh. Come on, Mr. Smith.
Look at the coaches. Though. Look at her assistant
coaches too.
Hey, even they dressed the part.
And then, like you said, Angel Reese, she's a superstar in the making. And then her partner, her teammate's a rapper, and they have. It's so Hollywood with LSU, but that's the thing about them. On the court, they're gonna grind you out. They're gonna make you tap out. That's how they play. That's how they play. Do you think you agree the women's been more exciting than the men's right now, or you think it's just because there's no blue bloods in the men's?
Well, you know what? With the women's from top to bottom, it's been great games. Okay. With the men, it was just a surprise. Yeah. We didn't have any number ones. We didn't have any. It was always a solid number one. We say, hey, they're going to be in the Final Four. This year, it wasn't like that. If you start from top to bottom with the women, it's been more exciting. But to put the nail in the coffin, it's been some great basketball from high school all the way up.
No question about that. We're going to go ahead and wrap this up. We get ready for our OHSA moves, and then our hot topics. We're here at Dayton 24/7 and Now Sports Podcast. Rock with us. Welcome back to Dayton 24/7 Now Sports Podcast. And in case you missed the show, go and check it out on YouTube, Dayton 24/7 Now. Go ahead and subscribe and check out the podcast as going crazy in the DYT and beyond. All right. Now, we got our OHSA moves. You know, off season, it's more like on season because there's so much stuff that goes down, like George Washington coming in and things like that. But right now, it's the All-Star game time. So both of you guys were able to go check out some All-Star games. Matty Ice, tell us about the All-Star game you went to and what was the vibes like?
Yeah, I had a chance to check out the Miami Valley All-Conference Challenge. That was over at Bethel High School, a chance for players from all the different area conferences to join up in All-Star teams and play against each other. I had a chance to check out two great games in the mid-afternoon. You had a bunch of Dayton Public School student-athletes matching up against the Miami Valley League, and the DPS team actually winning that game. Anton Allen from Dunbar was the MVP of that game. Then you had, right after that, the GWAC and the GCL players matching up against each other. That was a big win for the GCL. Two players from Fenwick sharing MVP honors. And also, it's the third edition of the challenge, but this was the first time they also had a dunk contest. So I had a chance to see four area student athletes try their skills at the slam dunk contest. Opponents had the winner with Dejon Anderson. Baron White from Northridge was the runner-up. Actually, I had a chance to talk to Dejon, and he was very thankful for the chance to play in the challenge. You know, he had been talking with, the Allens from Dunbar, a couple guys from Thurgood Marshall, and also Baron White from Northridge also joined up as part of that team. The chance to see DPS players come together instead of, the rivalries of Belmont and Dunbar and opponents and Thurgood Marshall and Stivers. And it was great to see, and he was thankful for the opportunity. It was a lot of good basketball.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Now, Mr. Smith, you was at the DPS All-Star game, first one ever. What was the vibes like there, man?
It was an amazing vibe. It was hyped all the way around, especially with the Wilberforce HBCU band there. So it was sold out, packed house.
Heard you was parking down about UD Arena, man. That's why I heard you was parking or what. But I
rode my scooter all the way back up to you.
Man, you had to take a shuttle to get back to your car, huh?
Yeah. But it was absolutely amazing event. You're talking about the Tiny Tot teams from the Heat and from the Airmen. They played at halftime of the women's game. You're talking about Victoria Jones, who put together an outstanding event, slam dunk contest, skill contest within the city league. So the day went fast. It was a beautiful time for Dayton Public School. So, there's a couple more All-Star games that's coming up. One out of Centerville, one in Columbus. So it's an exciting time for some of the guys to get out and show their talent with some of the other City League guys.
No question. Also, and there'll be an unsigned hype game as well. So stay tuned to that one as well. Now, when we look at some of the other topics, we got Christian Montague. Shout out to Christian Montague. He was CJ grad. Got to play Division II championship game. It was on CBS, and they were playing almost at the same time as when Bree Hall was playing against South Carolina and Cody McMahon was playing against Ohio State. It was just a amazing moment. And then Cody Latimer, which is a little bit off, but he was playing with the XFL at the same time. So all these people were playing.
That's that 937 connection
at the same time. But heck of a season for Montague. They came in second place in the D2 championship game. Now back to UD arrivals, departures. Got anything else on that side?
Yeah, well, as we mentioned, the net right now, as of Wednesday, is at -3. We mentioned 4 guys have left. Most recently, Mike Sharovjomps. He decided to test his prospects in the NBA draft, and this was something that was in the back of everyone's minds, I think, over the last couple of months, especially once he made the impact. The history and the connection that Mike Sharovjomps has, the Mongolian community has to the city of Dayton. Would it only be for a year? A lot of people were saying maybe it might not be just a year, that he might stay a little bit longer, but there's the official call from the Sharovjomps family that Mike is going to explore at least his prospects in the NBA draft.
Now, there's what do you think about UD, man, right now?
And I had been hearing that with Mike. I had talked to Lionel Garrett earlier this year, and he had brought him in and worked him out. If you don't know Lionel Garrett, he's a Southern grad who played in the NBA, so he had brought him in and a couple works with him. So he was on the NBA radar. Yeah. So for him to pull the strings, I know he had some injuries and whatever happened at UD, but his name is out there. If he has some good workout, it's a possibility that he can get drafted. So, but they have other players to leave. That's not uncommon nowadays with the portal. it's like free agency now. So, I mean, nothing surprises me now.
No question about it. Mongolian Mike, he's a icon on social media. So, and like you said, the first Mongolian athlete to get a D1 scholarship and make his name. And he might not be in the league, he might end up in that G League, but I believe he hired an agent for a reason. So he ain't coming back.
Hey, and I got a story about Mongolian Mike. He started off at Xenia Christian.
Right, yep.
And then he left and went to California at Prolific Prep. He didn't play that much his first year, end up staying there. But just think of this. If he would have came back a year earlier, and he would have been at Centerville, and then with the two other boys who end up leaving Centerville, the two big kids, they got a third brother that play now. One is at Penn State. Right. And the other one is at Eastern Michigan. That would have been at Centerville. You'd think if they would have had those kids what they had the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
You're talking about 3 state championships.
And top 10 in the country for sure.
Yes.
But it's great in general just to see the Mongolian connection with the city of Dayton in general. I know they went out, did some great work with the Mongolia Day. I had a chance to see that first half in their game against St. Louis back in February. And like I was mentioning, the contortionists for the halftime show, just a great display of the Mongolian culture and how the connections that, yes, Mongolia is halfway around the world from Dayton, Ohio, and the United States of America, but culture's coming together through sports and basketball. That's very awesome.
No question, Mongolian Mike to the league.
Yep.
A lot of UD faithful are not happy about it, but that's the way it's gonna be. When you come in as a high prospect, you ain't staying long.
Yeah.
If you are, you trying to really work on your game and maybe elevate, and
move on.
But you have to make it quick. You guys got anything else on the high school front?
Yeah. Well, we do have some news regarding the Division IV Girls Basketball Player of the Year, Riley Sagister from Tri-Village. She had originally committed to Marshall back in November with when the Herd had head coach Tony Kemper. However, the week of the Girls State Championship, Tony Kemper leaves Marshall, takes the head coaching job at Central Arkansas. I was able to talk with Sagister and her father, Josh. They said at the time she was still sticking with Marshall. Well, this week, Marshall hiring their new women's head basketball coach, Kim Stevens, who's someone I remember covering a lot when we used to work at a station in West Virginia, and she has a track record of major success at Glenville State. This past year, Glenville State made it back to the women's Final Four. Last year, they won it all, the D2 National Championship, so she definitely has a track record of success that she's bringing to Marshall, and we thought Riley Sagister could potentially be a part of that. However, Riley announcing she is she's reopening her recruitment herself, so her direct quote, "In light of the recent coaching change, I've decided to reopen my recruitment," end quote. So very interesting to see where I don't think it's going to be a long wait. I think we'll find out soon where Riley ends up, but still at the same time, definitely interested to see where she ends up.
University of Dayton.
Yeah. You think if they got her and then Belmont, Fairmont grad, Madison Bartley just got in the transfer portal with 2 years left, leaving Belmont. Leaving Belmont University. Just so UD, Tamika, they're there.
Flyers.
So
better get her. See a sniper. You just saw what happened with Ohio State. The Ville, real quickly.
Yes.
They decided since OHSA will not allow you to play games after your season is over, Coach Cuff's like, I'm taking my boys down to ATL to play in the top high school post tournament in the country. He took his top 5 seniors, 3 underclassmen. They in ATL playing right now.
Yeah.
What chance you give them real quickly?
Yeah, I'm very interested to see how they do in this first matchup with Beaumont Elite. That's a school. That's a team from Texas, and then the winner of that will take on either second to none from Illinois or Oak Cliff from Texas. But this is a great opportunity for Centerville high school student athletes to get that competition against top-notch players, not just from the state of Ohio, but from around the entire country. I believe they are the only team from Ohio in this 16-team field, so they'll be representing the Buckeye State, just them.
Cool. That's pretty dope.
Hey, and that Beaumont Elite team, my son is down in San Antonio, Texas. I know about that Beaumont Elite team. They're a good team, and you got to understand this too. Those teams down in Texas play 35 to 40 games.
Oh, so they doubling it up.
Yes.
The McDonald's All-American game, real quick. Bronny James, 15 points, 5 threes. You going in the league? You go to Ohio State or USC?
USC.
I'm picking USC for him. Yeah.
Oh no, I'm sticking with Ohio State.
It'd be great if he got to Ohio State, but at the same time.
All right. With that being said, we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up. Good luck to the Reds Dragons. They start this week.
Yes.
And then NBA playoffs coming up soon. We'll talk about that next week. But in the meantime, March Madness is coming to an end. Make sure you check out the games this weekend. Follow us on social media. Go to Dayton 24/7 Now Sports Podcast and go to Dayton 24/7 Now on YouTube to check out this show, man. It's your boy Cash. I'm here with Maddie Ice, Mr. Smith. Catch us on the next one, all right?